Have you ever wondered why the war in Palestine never ends? Why a conflict that started over a century ago still shapes global politics today? Because what's happening now didn't start with rockets or walls, and it definitely didn't start on October 7th. It started with a plan, written more than 100 years ago. This is the story of how an entire people were slowly erased from their own land, and how that plan still continues today. They stole the land, they stole the story. We're bringing it back. It all began in 1917, when Britain, during World War I, issued something called the Balfour Declaration. It promised to create a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, but there was one major problem. Palestine was already home to Palestinians, Muslims, Christians, and Jews who had lived together peacefully for centuries. After the war, Britain took control of the land under the British Mandate and slowly began allowing Jewish immigration from Europe, which was, by the way, initially welcomed by the Palestinian people, who opened their doors to refugees escaping persecution and war. But instead of creating safety for all, this new system created inequality. British soldiers protected new Zionist settlements while Palestinians lost land and rights. By the 1930s, protests turned into uprisings, like the Arab Revolt of 1936, brutally crushed by the British with help from Zionist militias. And when the British left, they didn't leave peace behind, they left chaos. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan, splitting Palestine into two states. Even though Palestinians made up 2/3 of the population, they were given less than half the land. When Palestinians rejected the plan, Zionist militias launched attacks. In 1948, Israel declared independence, and what followed was called El-Nakba, the catastrophe. Over 750,000 Palestinians were expelled or fled their homes. More than 500 villages were destroyed, their names erased, replaced by new Israeli towns. One of the most horrific moments was the Deir Yassin massacre, where over 100 civilians were killed. The world called it a war for independence. Palestinians called it the beginning of exile. And for those who survived, exile wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. After 1948, Israel controlled 78% of historic Palestine, far more than the UN plan allowed. The remaining land, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza, came under Jordanian and Egyptian control. But in 1967, Israel launched the Six-Day War, defeating Arab armies and seizing all remaining Palestinian land. That's when the modern military occupation began. Checkpoints, military rule, and illegal settlements spread quickly across the West Bank and East Jerusalem. In Gaza, families were trapped under Israeli control. The UN condemned the occupation, but Israel, backed by the United States, ignored the resolutions. And while Israel built walls, Palestinians built something else: resistance. By the 1980s, decades of oppression boiled over into open uprising. The first Intifada erupted in 1987, led not by armies, but by students, workers, and families demanding freedom. Images of children throwing stones at tanks shocked the world. Israel responded with bullets, mass arrests, and curfews. Then came the Oslo Accords in 1993, a supposed peace process. But instead of ending occupation, it divided the land into small zones under Israeli control. New settlements expanded faster than ever. In 2000, the second Intifada began after Israeli politician Ariel Sharon stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Suicide bombings, assassinations, and military invasions followed, leaving thousands dead, mostly Palestinians. And as the world turned away, Israel built something permanent: walls, prisons, and a blockade. After Hamas won elections in 2006, Israel imposed a total blockade on Gaza, trapping over 2 million people. Since then, Israel has launched multiple wars in 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, and 2023, killing tens of thousands, destroying hospitals, schools, and homes. Today, settlements keep expanding in the West Bank. Palestinians face military checkpoints every day, and millions still live without basic rights. Even global organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch Now call it what it is: apartheid. Meanwhile, Western governments continue to send Israel weapons and funding while calling for peace. But despite everything, every bomb, every blockade, every wall, the people of Palestine are still here.